Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, and this time I'll be talking about another country who took pretty much the same approach as Serbia this year, keeping every last detail about their participation a closely guarded secret until about a week before finally revealing their song, at which point all the details came out, the name of the artist, the title of the song, all of it. In this case, that happens to be Azerbaijan, who, in all fairness, tend to leave it pretty late before revealing their song anyway in most years of the contest, so this is nothing new by their standards, and that's okay. Some countries reveal early, some reveal late. It's each to their own, it really doesn't matter. So, after a few years of having a hard-to-understand national final format, followed by at least one internal selection, I want to say, Azerbaijan have gone internal again this year, selecting two-time The Voice participant Samra Rahimli, and her song Miracle, which is in English. And yeah, she got, I think, the quarterfinals of The Voice of Turkey, and then the finals of The Voice of Azerbaijan, which just started the end of last year, start of this year, so she's another Voice graduate. Hold on to your hats. So what are my first thoughts about this one then? Well, this one is a late fan favourite, and I can see why. The first impressions are strong with this one. Wow. I was kind of blown away on first listening. The song is very mainstream, but mainstream done very right. Azerbaijan have always been an interesting country in my experience. Every year they've gone for a different milestone in Eurovision placings. They've had a taste of each position of the top 5, they've had a top 10 but not top 5 placing, a left-hand side of the scoreboard but not top 10 placing, and then also a bottom 5 but still in the final placing. And I'm sure at some point they're going to want to try and not qualify and then come last, and, I don't know, not qualify with nil point, or be a non-qualify, I don't know, there's a whole load of milestones that they've not gone for. It's basically, Azerbaijan are the achievement hunters of Eurovision. But it seems this year that it looks like they're aiming to achieve their first duplicate placing. I'm predicting a strong top 10, possibly top 5 finish from this one. And that's just from first listening. That's how strong its first impression is. The style is also a bit reminiscent of, well, I don't know which artist. Rihanna, I think, maybe? It's that kind of style, but a bit more Eurovision friendly. And one other thing that stuck out at me on a more comedic note was the music video filmed on the set of Not Going Out. For my non-British viewers, the music video looked like it was filmed on the set of a sitcom here in the UK. Not a criticism, just an observation. Okay, so what do I like about this song? What does it do right? And what's going to get it some more points in the semi-finals and possibly the final as well? Well, it is a very modern, very now Eurovision song. Clearly, Samra and the Azerbaijani team in general know what impresses at Eurovision, and they've written a song that does just that, without feeling like it has any ulterior motives or hidden messages, and without feeling like it's just following a formula. Of course, there are formulaic elements to this song, but that just comes as part and parcel of the genre. It isn't an over-the-top, look at me, give me points kind of attempt. I'm sure it could have some of that feeling to it, but no more than is acceptable. So, it feels genuine enough for me. And what will help her with the overall impressions is that both her voice and the instrumentation of the song are very large and powerful sounding. Either one could fill the stage and the arena as much as necessary without the other half. So she could just sing the song a cappella and it would sound just as fulfilling. You could just play the instrumental track and it would still fill the hall. So having both at once almost guarantees a solid, impressive performance full of all the necessary showmanship to encourage points from the public and the jury alike. I mentioned before that she left a very strong first impression too. That's a notably good point here, in that while it may not have been total and complete love at first listen for me like I was with Croatia, it still left an immense and strong first impression on me, more so than a lot of the other songs this year. On a similar note, the song's tune is easy to memorize without being overly simplistic. In fact, although the song's instrumentation doesn't have much room to build, the refrain does still change when she starts to repeat it. And that works really well. A couple of countries have fallen short on that front this year. Norway and Australia spring to mind immediately. But here, when she repeats the refrain in succession, the lyrics change. There's more to it. There's a sense of progress and variety, which makes it entertaining to listen to, because it's comparatively less repetitive. Also, I'm not quite sure how to fit this point in, but her voice really suits the song. So, that's a good thing. She's a believable performer. But what about on the flip side? What are the points that'll cost it some points? Which is a weird way of wording it. What are the negatives about this song? Well, the first thing that comes to mind when I tried to come up with bad points for this song is that while it does leave that really strong first impression I talked about, it could get old really quickly. Like, once you've heard it once, you've got as much as you're going to get out of the song as you ever will. And that is fun while it lasts, but I think hearing it too many times in close succession, not necessarily in a row, but just too many times in a short space of time, could make it get pretty annoying pretty quickly, which is a shame because it is a good song. With Eurovision, as I've said before, repeat appeal doesn't matter too much, since the average person will only hear it once or twice. And if it is twice, then that's once in the semis, once in the final, if it qualifies. So, it shouldn't get too annoying in theory, but it is still a problem that is there. For example, for some people with a lower tolerance to this sort of thing, it might not even take multiple listens before that effect starts to take place. It might get grating just, they hear half the song, then they're like, okay, that's the chorus, and then she repeats it, and they're like, okay, I'm sick of it already. So for some people, it could get grating more quickly than it does with others. Each to their own. Besides that, because of the power and volume of the backing track, there are points where you can barely hear her voice over the instrumentation and the backing vocalists, so either she could get horribly drowned out by the backing track, or she could just not bother singing and leave the backing vocalists to do all the work. Either way, that doesn't come across very well in a stage performance. I'm not quite sure how to fix that though, because if they just adjust her microphone to compensate, then she'll end up being too loud in the quiet sections of the song instead. I don't know, it's something they should at least consider looking at anyway, because it's kind of a problem, but it doesn't damage the song too badly, but if they want to really make it shine, then they should consider looking at it. So, how would I rate it out of 10 then? Well, perhaps I'm a sucker for the Eurovision-by-numbers approach, but when done correctly, I do like this kind of song, and guess what? Azerbaijan have done it correctly. Perhaps it's purely an academic 10 out of 10 for following the formula so rigidly as a baseline, but that's still a 10 nonetheless. It may well get grating after a while, but it leaves such a strong impression that at Eurovision it does everything it needs to do in just the right way that it needs to, so, like I said, it may be a textbook 10 out of 10, but it's a 10 out of 10 just the same. They knew what they were going for, and they've hit the nail on the head, so I can't really fault it. Compared to last year, it may not seem like it at first, but Azerbaijan have been going through a bit of an experimental phase over the past couple of years, which led to their first 2 non-top 10 placings, although you could argue that Day After Day was pretty experimental as well back in 2008, and that finished 8th, but in any case, this year marks their return to the mainstream. While I did very much enjoy Hour of the Wolf and its quirky unusualness, which did serve to showcase Elnor's voice rather impressively, I hasten to add, and it did tell a rather curious narrative in a surprisingly catchy and entertaining way, Miracle is just academically better in every way. Perhaps it's not as risky and it's not as 100% original, and perhaps it's something that you may have heard before in a slightly different form, whereas Hour of the Wolf was comparatively, like I said, different. But Miracle impresses where it has to, dazzles where it wants to, and writes a check for a great placing that Samra is more than capable of cashing in Stockholm. And that's not a joke about the allegations of Azerbaijan buying votes, because whether it's true or not, they won't need to this year because they've got a strong song. I'm not going to get into the politics of the matter because I'm simply not interested. Azerbaijan probably going to do well. Will it qualify? There is no doubt in my mind that they will. I'm aware that I'm probably just falling for a well-laid trap in the form of them saying, we know Eurovision fans like this kind of song, so here, have the exact archetype of this kind of song. But, I mean, it's done well, and I like it. I might know that I'm consciously falling for it, but other people probably won't, so whether it's a deliberate ploy to go after points or not, people are still going to enjoy this song. Samra will have the audience bedazzled with her powerful and generally catchy performance in general. The jury's going to like it for her voice and the way the song impresses on technical levels, so even if it is, as I said, a bit by the books, overall, it'll take a miracle to keep this from qualifying, and more than likely to keep it from finishing in the top 10 at the end of proceedings. Azerbaijan, as I said, it may be a bit of a predictable song that'll do well, but it's a predictable song done well, so if it places highly, then it's earned that high placing as far as I'm concerned, so I will say, good luck Azerbaijan. It's, as I said, it's more mainstream than what you've been sending for the past couple of years, but going mainstream has served you well in the past, so yeah, you do you. And, well, good luck when you hit the stage in Stockholm. See you then.